I hope that you come to know that God created you unique for a reason. He set you apart for a reason. And there's something along the journey that he has for you that will only, like, it would be the most beneficial if you show up as yourself. What's up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Let It Be the Podcast. I'm your host, Fergie, and if this is your very first time tuning in, I just want to say welcome to Let It Be. I don't know what it is that drew you here, but I hope that it encouraged you, and I hope that you stay for this conversation and that it encourages you as well. This season has been refreshing to me. In the beginning, at the beginning of this year, I knew that I was intentionally going to take a break, but I did not intend for it to be 6 months, almost 7 months of a break from the podcast. But now I see that God was using that time for me to be restored, but to also gain confidence. And I would say towards the end of last season, when I was praying, okay, if I continue with this podcast, what am I supposed to talk about? I don't know what else to share, because I felt like I was sharing in real time some of the things that I was experiencing. And I thought that this was going to be the end. And God put it on my heart to talk about identity. And so let me just go back and say, if this is your first time watching Let It Be the Podcast, this is a podcast all about embracing grace and releasing control. And up until this point, I've shared a lot of my testimony, a lot of the journey, things that I've experienced, what God has been doing in my life, and kind of sharing it as he was giving me revelation and things to talk about. But this season is just a little bit different because I'm in a different season. My life feels different. I feel different. And now I'm just here to encourage you and share what the Lord puts on my heart. And if you watch this episode title, if you see the episode title or watch the clip or something, it's all about, we hear the words "for a time such as this," called for a time such as this. But what does that really, really mean? And I have been studying the book of Revelation. I've been reading through Esther and just thinking about how crazy the journey has been in this past seasons of my life for it to lead me here to this moment. And through a lot of my experiences and my disobedience, I had my eyes set on a certain goal. I had things that I had planned for this time in my life, things that I wanted. And when God was showing me that my life was leaning towards ministry, I rejected it. And sometimes I talked about my rejection here on this podcast, about how I am doing, I guess it is ministry, but I don't want to be put in this box, because I was afraid that if I did the thing that God was calling me to do, then I was going to, for one, lose my identity and feel like I had to force myself to fit into something that just wasn't me. I didn't grow up in church. I'm not a holy roller. I don't know all the Bible front to back. So more than anything, I would say it was fear. It was insecurity for feeling like I'm not enough, or I don't know enough, or I'm not qualified to do this thing that God has called me to do. And so a lot of what you witnessed through the past episodes and past seasons was me, and trust me, we'll never stop becoming, but me becoming this version that you see now. And a lot of times we feel like we can't do something, or we disqualify ourselves from something that God has called us to do, because we have an idea of what the end result is going to look like, and we see ourselves in that moment. But what if God called you for a time such as this? I know, and not that he wasn't using you in the times before, but the big picture, or the big idea, the things that we had in mind that we wanted God to use us for, it didn't make sense in that season, but as we continue to live, as we continue to do things, okay, now, this moment is going to change everything. And that's essentially what I wanted to talk about. I know we hear, we use that term all the time, you've been called for a time such as this. But what does that mean? And as I was kind of reading the book of Esther and God had placed this on my heart. Like I said, he always gives me episode titles way before, and I don't know what they're going to mean in the time that they're actually released. But when he talked about call for a time such as this, it made me think about purpose, but also positioning. And what I realized about God's purpose is like his purpose is not contingent just upon you, because his purpose is going to prevail regardless. The thing is, you just get an opportunity to be a part of it. And God is gracious enough that sometimes he'll allow us to run. He'll allow us to try to pivot and do things our way. But at the end of the day, like what God has set apart for you, like what he needs to happen in the earth, it's going to happen. Maybe you get to be a part of it, but maybe you don't. And God was convicting me just about my language, about how I speak about the thing that I get to do when it comes to ministry, when it comes to sharing the gospel, when it comes to being a leader in my respectful lane, like when it comes to doing things, I was rejecting it because I didn't know, for one, what are these expectations going to be on me? Am I going to be able to meet them? Do I want them? I didn't want them, to be honest with you. What does this mean for Bree to say, yeah, like, okay, I'm in ministry? And as I was trying to navigate all of those things and trying to figure out how I could have one foot in, how I could participate a little bit with what God was doing, but I wasn't sure if my identity in Christ was solidified enough. Maybe, I don't know if anybody else has felt that way, but I felt like maybe I still got some growing to do before I can say, yeah, I do this thing. Or maybe I need a little bit more experience before. Maybe somebody needs to validate me before I can actually say, yes, this is the thing that I've called you to do. And what I've learned in this journey is, I mean, we talk about it all the time. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the call, right? And so maybe God has called you in a certain season to do a thing. And it's like, but I don't know how to do this. I don't have credentials and I don't have all the things. But really all you need is a word from God, because it's his purpose that's going to prevail regardless of what you think is supposed to happen or when you think or how you think. We just get a chance to participate. And when God was kind of showing me, like, there are people who might not connect to a church per se. You know, they might go to a small group, but they don't hear people. They don't share in their vulnerability. If you know, but maybe something that you say could help them to open up, to feel less alone. And so even back when God was calling me into like leading a small group, and I was like, I don't want to do that. That just feels too intimate, for one. I don't want everybody to know all these things about me. And I was thinking about myself, me, me, right? And what God was starting to show me, just even in that, yes, is that vulnerability is a superpower. It literally is a superpower, because it's like, I'm not running from my past. I'm not running from the shame that I carried. I'm not running from it. It doesn't control me. And so maybe if I share the things that I'm going through, maybe it'll help somebody else. And one thing that people say to me a lot is like, you're so real and you're so like, I love how you're just honest. And I'm like, that is the freest thing for me. And I'm happy that I got out of that space where I felt like I needed to fit a mold or be a certain way. And I just learned how to embrace what it is that God is, like, who God made me to be. I'm different, and I know that, and I love that. And thank you. You know, you're different. And I hope that you come to know that God created you unique for a reason. He set you apart for a reason. And there's something along the journey that he has for you that will only, like, it would be the most beneficial if you show up as yourself. You know, like you don't have to make it pretty and perfect and packaged the right way and have all the things executed before you say, okay, God, now I can do it. Because God has called you for a time such as this, such as now. And if we look at the world, I want to keep talking about this, because if I'm honest, it's scary to see the things of the Bible come to pass in real life. You know, like, and you gotta, like, if you keep reading in scripture and it talks about even down to our finances and how things are gonna go, they talking about it on the news station like it's not a big deal. You know, one world currency, like those things are, it's it's created already, for one, like but they're conditioning us to get to that space where we have to be dependent. And it's not a conspiracy theory. You can literally just Google, see how things are going. Even the corruption of our political system, the things that people say that leaders should never even say. But I guess we don't have to wonder where they stand because they say it. But more than anything, that's why we need to be in position. That's why we need to not shy away from the thing that God has planted inside of us to go out and do, or to serve here, or to show up here, even if it's not glamorous, even if you're a janitor, even if you're just an assistant, because there's something bigger than. I think that like what our generation right now we're struggling with is we too focused on ourselves. We in the mirror. It's me. I'm the birthday. Is that what they saying? Like, I'm the birthday. It's me. And it's really God. We really have taken our eyes off of him. And God was convicting me so like about the way that I was speaking about the gift that he's given me. He's placed something inside of me, the wisdom that he's given me. It's not me. I don't just know. The things that he shares are like when he lets me speak to people. Like, I don't just be knowing what to say, but God, like, I'm a mouthpiece. And if I say, okay, God, I want to follow you, then I can't say, I'll only follow you here. I'll only do this there. It doesn't matter if God puts me in a school, if he puts me on a platform, if he puts me in front of 1 million people or 5 people. Like, that heart posture really got to be the same. And so if you're speaking against who God has called you and who he's created you to be, then you are already you're robbing the kingdom. And I don't want to get to the end of my life and God say, what did you do with what I gave you? Oh, I was waiting on the right time. Or it wasn't time yet. I wasn't ready yet. When God was trying to perfect you along the process. And that made me think about, as I was even reading in Esther, it was showing me how before she became queen, he had already set things in place for her to be in that position, because there was something that he wanted to accomplish through her, but it had to happen through her. You got to, first of all, I'm not going to go through and read the whole book of Esther, but you have to read. Esther was basically an orphan. Her cousin raised her, became like a father figure. They were Jewish, and Esther became queen. What is his name? I forgot the king name right now. But she became queen over time in the right position because Queen Vashti she started to feel herself too much. And the king was like, you know what? Let's get her out of position. We're going to find a new one. Like, yeah, maybe Esther's beauty is what called her into that position. But God has something bigger than her beauty that he wanted to use, because essentially he used her to save the Jews from being persecuted. And so as I was thinking about that, like when you go back and read, I think one of the biggest things that we read is in Esther 4, is that who knows whether or not you have come to the kingdom for such a time such as this. Meaning Mordecai was telling Esther, like, hey, because you're queen now, you need to go and tell the king, like, to spare us. And she's like, well, I can't go and talk to him because I have to pretty much be summoned. I have to be invited in. And if I just go in and interrupt, he's going to kill me. And they like, well, wait a second. Don't think that just because you are in this position that you have an opportunity to like be spared. You're a Jew too. Don't forget your identity. And so if you don't do it, then God will just raise up somebody else. But they had faith to believe that God would show up. But it goes back to why like Esther was called for such a time as this, because God put her in the position in the time that was needed so that his purpose could prevail and so that they could be saved. And so as I was thinking back to us, like, how does that relate to us in real time? Because of the biggest thing is like God's purpose, it is going to come to pass. Now, whether you want to participate, fine. But if not, cool. God will use somebody else. And so I want to ask you, like, have you ever felt a pulling in your heart or God nudging you to maybe do something, but fear talked you out of it? Like God is like, hey, go talk to this person, or go set up the camera and stand in the corner and do these things and talk about this. And you like, no, I'm not ready yet. I don't have enough. And God is like, okay, well, maybe God is like, go and share your testimony to this person, or go encourage that person over there. And you like, no, I can't, or leave this relationship. Well, this is all I've ever known, or we're married, or whatever. Or speak up against that. Like, you know that that's wrong. Say something. God put you in this position to do it. Do it. And you let fear talk you out of that. And I think sometimes we think that maybe our hesitation will delay God's plans, but the reality is, like, it can delay your journey, but God's purpose is he'll still use somebody else. And I think about sometimes in my life where I knew that God was like, maybe he had put something on my heart to reach out to this person and do. Like, if God is doing something, it's not always even about you. Maybe God is want to use you as a vessel, but we're so consumed with ourselves that we'll think like, oh, I'm not ready yet. Or maybe I didn't hear that the right thing, but like, how many times have we had a nudge where God is like, dang, do this. And then you don't do it. And then you see somebody else doing it, or you have an idea, but you was too afraid to execute it, or you was too afraid to share it. And then somebody else shares it. And it's like the greatest thing that they've ever heard. When God was saying, hey, this is what I want you to do. And I think about that. That's happened a lot in my life. And I've gotten to a point to where now we don't have time. And I think that honestly, the world that we live in, you have to be one delusional person to think that this is about your happily ever after. Because this world is so raggedy. I'm almost like, God, when you coming? It's so raggedy out here. And it's also like, it's a little scary to think about. Like, I can't even imagine what a future is going to be like if things continue the way that they are. If Christians, if believers don't stand up and be in positions, and even thinking about like in politics, which is why like being like purpose is not limited to church. Your calling, your gift is not limited to church. It's in the courthouse. It's at the schools. It's in the banks. It's in the boardrooms. It's in all of those places. Like we need to be vessels everywhere that we are. We don't have to wait for our dreams to come true before we can say, yeah, God is using us. Like, no, God is using you right now. And the thing is, he doesn't need you. He wants you. He chooses you. And when I thought about that part more than anything, God choosing us, that gave me so much confidence, because that means that I don't have to depend on myself. I don't have to depend on my strength. If God is choosing you, if he's put something in your mind and your heart that I can't ignore it, I can't get away from this thing that's just here, then that must mean that God want to do something through me. That must mean that God is going to bring people eventually to help me to grow. You know, like I have the gift, and I think about honestly a time such as this, like say if I would have not started my podcast all those years ago, or if I would have just let me being a radio personality be the only part that God was going to use in this way. You know, when I said, okay, God, would you close that door opportunity for me? So I'm never going to speak on a mic again, or I'm never going to do this again. And what if I would have died in that space? Like, you know, let that dream die. I wouldn't be here right now. I didn't know then that God was going to be using me like this now, but he used that time, that season to grow me, to help me, to build discipline, to honestly go through some stuff, but to show me what it looks like to continue to pursue God, to continue to pursue a purpose, and trusting that he will be, he'll be a vessel whenever I need him to be. He'll be a ram in the bush when I need him to be. And sometimes like we wait for the glamorous moments before we say, yes, now I'm doing it. When God was like, nah, I wanted to do it through the journey. And so when I think about it being like not by might, not by power, but by his spirit, that means like all you need is God's grace. You don't need your ability. Think about most of the people, like all of the people that God uses. David was a forgotten shepherd boy. He was overlooked by his parents. Moses didn't speak well. Mary, for a teenage pregnancy, nobody gonna believe her, and she birthed the Messiah. You know, Esther. Everybody like God that God chooses, he perfects along the way. Especially Joseph. I think about Joseph too a lot. Like he had a dream, but there was so much that happened in between that time. But if you think that like, okay, well, I have to wait, or I have to do, or when I get better skills, then I can do it, then you're missing out on so many blessings for one. You're missing out on so many opportunities to connect with other people for two. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much that God wants to do, but he chooses you. Because he chose you, that means he must have something more to help you, to aid you in the process. And the next point that I want to make, and I wish that more of us thought about, was God, his blessings are not just for you. Like God didn't give me wisdom just so I can talk to myself. He didn't give me opportunities to keep them for myself. God's blessings, like I think sometimes we think that, oh, look at the favor on my life. Look at all these things. And it's like, especially the world that we live in, we're so consuming. We're so selfish. We're self-righteous. We think that things are about us. But promotion is not just about income. Being elevated, having influence is not just so you can have recognition. Feeling like healing, God healing a miracle in your body, it's not just so you can be healed. It's so that way you can go and tell people about the goodness of God. Because that's the only reason why we're here. It's so that way we can give him glory. Even having freedom from things. Like I think about times where, and it's like sometimes shame will keep us quiet. I think about times where I was in such mental distraught and I just knew my life was over. I just knew that things would never get better. And somehow, some way, I'm not in that space anymore. There were times where I literally believed that where I was the end. And God changed my mind. He transformed my heart. And it's like, okay, now go and share, because there's somebody else who's suffering with that same thing. So sometimes we'll think like this, like the blessing is for me. It's not for you. Even, and like I said, God has been working on my heart when it comes to like the desires of my heart. And it's like, why do you want that? What's the real reason why? Is it for me? Is it for the kingdom? Or is it for you to just say because you wanted it? Oh God, I want to move into a house so that I can have more rooms that I won't use. Or Lord, I want to use this house to raise a family, to honor you. Or I want to have a bigger space so that I can have a studio. Or I want to host Bible studies. Like, why do you want the things that you ask for? Is it just for you so you can be cool, so you can be recognized, so you can have influence? Or is it for something like that will benefit other people? I think a lot of us, like, especially like if you feel like you don't know your purpose, what is it inside of you that would benefit somebody else? Maybe the purpose that you have, that you're not able to find it because you're looking in the mirror. What gift has God given you? What has he placed inside of you that's for the world? To make the world a better place, to bring more people into the kingdom. Like that is purpose. So if you don't know, start assessing, like, why am I asking for certain things? What is it that I'm good at? Is this just about me? Because purpose is not about you. It's literally about advancing the kingdom. It's about going out, making more disciples. That's what purpose is about. And I think sometimes we get lost in that. And even like, I'm thinking about Esther when she was afraid, like, okay, now she's in this position. Actually, let me read it. I'm going to read it because I mentioned it, but I'm going to read it. I'm going to start at Esther 4:13. It says, Mordecai told the messenger to reply to Esther, don't think that you will escape the fate of the Jews because you are in the king's palace. If you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jewish people from another place, but you and your father's family will be destroyed. And who knows, perhaps you have come to your royal position for a time such as this. God had favor on Esther's life from the very beginning. And that favor that was set aside was preparation for that moment. It wasn't so because Esther was so beautiful and she deserved to be queen. It was because God wanted to use her. And that comes with like when you think about preparation, okay, maybe you're in a space where you don't necessarily know, why am I in this space? Assess some things, assess where you are in the environments that you're in. How can you make it better? When I was in the season that I was in last year, when I was like, and you have to watch previous episodes to understand more of the story, but I pretty much was like at the end of my rope, and I was like about to leave Dallas, and I was like, I sold all of my stuff, put the rest in storage, and I was at the end. And God showed me like, now I can begin. And he stripped everything, and now he's like restoring me, right? But the thing that I was like praying for, it came, but it didn't come like I thought it was going to come. It wasn't shiny. It wasn't $1,000,000. It wasn't none of those things. All the things that I had in my mind, God allowed me to experience that and be disappointed so that way he could give me something better. And so now that I'm in the position that I'm in now, where I have a job and I'm a manager and all those things, and no, it's not the most beautiful, shiny thing, but my perspective is so different because I'm like, okay, I know that whatever reason I'm here, it's because God saw fit for me to be here in this moment. And I look at it as like service. So no, like it's not, I came out of like a corporate space, doing a certain thing. And now I'm in education. But there's purpose in that. There's value in that. And so every day that I get up, I'm grateful for one. I ain't got to ask nobody to help me pay my bills. I can eat what I want. I have opportunities to connect with people. And so now I wake up with gratitude in my heart, but then I also look around like, God, where do you want to use me today? How do you want to use me today? Because I know my blessings is not just for me. I know the gift that I have. This is not, like I said in the previous episode, I don't want to be crowned queen. I don't need that title, that position. I really just want God to continue to use me however he sees fit. And so that makes my heart less selfish, less self-consuming, because sometimes the position that you are in today, like, I don't know how it's going to work out later. I don't know what all this season is producing, but I know that I get to show up and I get to still be a light in a space where somebody might need some light. Somebody might need a conversation. Somebody might need encouragement. I get a chance. Like, I even think about, like, first of all, me being a manager is like, I'm so unserious for one. So when that was offered to me, I'm like, God, I'm not even mature enough to be a manager. How do I do this? But even in this, it's growing me. It's stretching me, and it's showing me how I might need to grow up in some areas. I might need to leave the house a little bit earlier so I can be on time because I'm a leader. Lord, I know that just came out. I know. But it's really showing me that I also get a chance. Like, this is ministry. I get to minister to people, to young people who are on a journey to better themselves. And my experience and my wisdom blesses them. That is an honor, And so it's like, and it's something that I've learned to even give me a lot more peace, because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, it can feel a little disappointing. Like, wow, I thought this was going to be a bigger shebang than this, but it's like, but God, thank you. This is more than enough, And if God can trust you with the smaller things, then he can add more to you. But if that heart posture is, oh, okay, this is just for me. Well, you've already descended yourself, and you're looking down in the wrong direction. And another part, when you talk about preparation having purpose, is that things really just take time. If I didn't, like, when I used to be in radio, and especially in college, I was still dealing with confidence. I was still dealing with learning how to speak, with an audience or people listening to me. I didn't have confidence in myself, if I'm honest. And when people see me now, or they meet me now, they meet this version. But you don't know what it took to get here. You don't know the things that I had to overcome, especially as a child. Like, my identity was attacked as a child. My voice, I was quiet, like, as a kid. Like, I didn't say much unless I was acting out. Like, I really didn't have much to say. I really wasn't confident in speaking. But then I think back to, oh, God actually was equipping me, because for whatever reason, I was a class speaker for my high school graduation. So that was like that I can remember. That was my first big speech. And then God was able to use that little moment. And I don't even know if he's done using it as far as me being a public speaker. But he gave me that opportunity way back then. He planted that seed for a time such as now. Like, I didn't know that was going to come and be beneficial now, writing speeches and all those things. Like, I was not a confident girl growing up at all. Like, I really struggled with my confidence, but there were years that prepared me. And sometimes you'll get discouraged when, like, we give, especially, man, I really feel my heart is tugged for the youth right now, because a lot of them are comparing, especially 20-year-olds, comparing themselves to people that they see on the internet might who are influencers, or, maybe they done made some money by streaming and all those things. And so these teenagers or these young adults, they feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or I don't have a Birkin, or whatever the go yards and all those things that the people be doing right now. Like, they feel like they're not enough, or they haven't accomplished enough. I'm like, girl, you are 21 years old. When I was 21, I was lost in a sauce, wasn't thinking nothing about my future, nothing, like I didn't even have the mentality that I have right now. And so we are, again, technology and the things that's happening in this world right now. Like, and that's why I'm talking to people who honestly might even have a little bit more experience. Like, there's a responsibility on your life. The way you live, it's not about what you produce. It's really just about the way you live and how you pour into people that can, for one, do nothing for you. Or maybe you use the gifts that God has given you to bless people around you. Because there's a generation who is perishing spiritually. They are perishing because they don't know better, for one. Like, this is like our generation, we grew up going outside, falling down, playing on our bikes, and need to be home by the street lights, and not being able to use the phone and the internet at the same time. Like, that make me sound old, but like, that's a time we grew up knowing life outside of technology. These kids don't. And so a lot of times even parents can be harsh, or adults can be harsh and judge this generation because they're not as bright. They don't have the skills. They don't have the things that maybe we have. But have you taken the time to pour into the people around you? Like, how do you serve where you are right now? Like, you didn't just fall into the position that you're in just because you're great. It took time to get there. Maybe there were people along the way to help you. And so how are you pouring into people like somebody poured into you? Like, our blessings are really, really not for us, but it takes time. And even in the hardship, the things that maybe you've experienced and it was not necessarily favorable, whatever, it worked out. It worked together in some way. So how are you using those lessons from those seasons to bless somebody else? Because sometimes we get frustrated because we only see, well, I've been waiting on this, or I've been asking God for this and he hasn't given me this right now. But we miss out on the actual assignment. Like, every day, everywhere you are, there's an assignment on your life for the moment that you're in it. And so it's like, don't be so quick to try to brush past this because you don't think that this is relative. Like, everywhere, every moment has purpose in everything. And so if you too consumed with yourself, if you too consumed with the outcome, you're going to miss it. And the next point that I want to make is, and I know a lot of us deal with this, is the fear of people and how, in the fear of perception, and how that can cost us our purpose. Like Mordecai, I think I read this already. Like, when Mordecai was like, if you remain silent at this time, let me put this back up here. He said, if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jewish people from another place, but you and your father's family will be destroyed. So we can allow the fear, because like another part that we love with Esther is she's like, oh, if I perish, I perish, but that takes confidence. And like, you got to be confident in who you are, which is why in this season I want to focus on identity so much, is because who you are is enough. And you have to be confident in that so what if it don't look like what everybody else got going on? Like, you are enough for exactly where you are. And you have to not allow the fear of looking weird, the fear of being standing out, like the fear of being forgotten, the fear of being left out. Like, you can't allow that to keep you from being obedient to God. Because like I said, Esther, she was afraid that if I just go in, like, because basically Mordecai was like, you need to go and tell him what Haman was planning for us, to kill us. And she was like, I can't just go in there and do that. He's like, well, girl, like, maybe this is the reason why God put you in this position. Don't get it twisted. Don't forget don't forget God in this. This is not about you because you're beautiful and you're queen. There's a purpose in this. It wasn't just for you. And so maybe for you, what that could look like is, are you protecting your comfort more than you are your calling? Are you protecting the space that you're in? Because if I turn this job down, then that means I'm going to have to continue to build this business that God has given me. Or if I stop trying to build this business or build this platform and actually go and serve, what are my other influencer friends going to say? Or what about if I stop doing this, then I won't get the deals, or I won't get the validation, or I won't get the, so what? Like, God has called you for something so much bigger than what this world has to offer. This world is perishing, y'all. And so you can't be so afraid of other people's opinions about judging you. Like, I even think about, and this is really not like a dig at anybody, but I remember in the beginning of this journey when I really started to be vocal and like leading the Bible studies and being in certain rooms and doing certain things that God was calling me to do. And there was an opportunity where we were like hosting an event, right? And in the event, like, I don't want to be too mixy. Like, people need to know what side that I stand on. And that's something that like I knew, I don't know, that conviction just came with me. Like, I know that I'm in the world, but I can't be of the world. And I also can't contribute to like people, not like, I know that everybody's convictions are different, but I don't want to be a part of contributing to the confusion of somebody else, the demise of somebody else. And so I remember like I was helping with this event and I was like, we can't do that. This is not a turn up event, you know? And if that's the case, then my name not going to be a part of that, you know? And it's like, I have to be okay with maybe being ostracized for that. Or maybe you calling me a holy roller, or I don't care what you call me, but I'm not going to be a part of something that is going against the purpose of God, the kingdom of God. Like, I can't willingly participate in that, knowing, like having the knowing. And so for you, whatever that might look like for you, like, are you concerned about not fitting in? Because this is what we always did. Well, these are the homies, or, you know, we all have to grow. We all gonna have to take account of the things, the choices that we've made, the decisions that we've made. Like, we're all gonna have to take account of that at some point. So you don't let obedience be something that is contingent upon your popularity. Like, I'll do this as long as I'm popular, or I'll do this as long as it don't cost me my community. I'll do this as long as, you know, people will still think, you know, that I look a certain way. You might have to walk away from it all. And if God is calling you to do that, so be it. Just like when Esther said, you know what? Like, if you got to keep reading, I'm not going to read the whole Bible, the whole chapter. But what Esther said was, you know what? She responded to Mordecai. I'm going back to Esther 4:15. She said, go and assemble all the Jews who can be found in Susa. I don't know what that say. And fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And I and my female servants will fast in the same way. And after that, I will go to the king, even if it is against the law. If I perish, I perish. And again, when you get context of that, like, if I perish, I perish. What does that mean? If I die, I die, basically, is what she was saying. Okay, I'm gonna take the risk. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna talk to the king, even though he hadn't summoned me. He hasn't asked to see me in 30 days. But if it costs me my life, then it must be worth it. You know, like, I'm going to do this because God allowed me to be in this position, to have a seat at the table. And I think about that. I was having a conversation with a coworker of mine about just like having confidence in the position that God has placed you in. Like, he saw fit for you to be in that position. You have a seat at the table for a reason. And we got to stop limiting doing God's work inside a church. Because that looks like you doing God's work in your home, at your job, in the community, and like to your neighbors. Like, we can't limit God and put God in this box. Like, I'll only be holy on Sundays, or I'll only do this thing. Or again, like, before I really knew Christ, I grew up thinking like, oh, I just got to ask God for, just say I repent at the end of the day and then everything is going to be better. No, it's literally a lifestyle. And if it costs you your popularity, so what? And that brings me to like the other point that I want to make is like, don't compromise your integrity. And I know I talked about that in a previous episode before, but being set apart means living differently. That's what it means when you say, okay, God, I want to know what it's like to live for you, or I want my purpose. And it's like, it's going to cost you something. That means you can't compromise. You can't be in the places that you were in before. You can't be doing the things that you were doing before. You can't cut corners. Do what makes you happy. I feel like this world nowadays, there's a lot of like, oh, if it makes you happy, it's not serving me. All those things. We're so self-consumed. But what if it don't serve you in a way that you want it to serve you in this season? What if it doesn't? Does that stop you from doing what God asked you to do? Or sometimes we also feel like the things that we do in silent, don't nobody knows. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but what I am saying is that living with conviction and still going out trying to talk to people about God, knowing that God is like put higher like responsibility on me. I can't do like be in compromising positions where now I'm carrying this thing and I'm still trying to walk in the direction of God. So you got to choose who you're going to serve. Because like, I think that a lot of what we see in the world is like, again, I think I talked about this before, like, or you watch the BET Awards or your favorite influencers or your favorite podcasts. It's like, yeah, and granted, I know people are on a journey and people are coming to know Christ, but there's a time when you have to when you have to grow up, where you have to make a decision where you can't still have one foot in, one foot out. It's like you're either going to be all in or you're not. And eventually, like God, like I said earlier, God's purpose will prevail. It's just like when we think that we have the luxury of time, but we don't know when our time is over. We don't know. And it doesn't mean like our time when the world gonna end. But to be honest, when you look at the news, it's like, oh, somebody knows something. Something's going on. But also, you don't know when your time is gonna end. The time that you feel like, oh, I'll get right. I'll stop this one day. Like I'll one day. You don't know that one day today could be your last day. And so that's why you don't want to compromise with the thing that God has called you to do, with like not treating it like it's precious, like it's the most precious thing that you have. Today, the moment that you have today, it is precious because you don't know if you'll get another one. You don't know if you'll get to wake up tomorrow. You don't know if that window of opportunity will be there when you are ready to say yes, when you are ready to stop doing things that you know are not right, that you know God is like calling you away from. You don't know when that time is going to end. So like, and I really just want to press this because I'm looking at like, even in the news, like these people, these young boys dying and, like they probably thought that they had tomorrow, or people dying in accidents and they thought that they was going to get home. You don't know. So don't play with time. Like it's like it's entitled to you, because it's not. Your health, don't play with that. Like you're just entitled to it all one day. Like, I think that we have we lived in too much grace and not enough truth. And what I mean when I say that is people feel like God will forgive me. He know my heart. Nah, he do for real. He know your intentions too. And he know if you really, really want to do right and want to start like living for him, and if you don't. And again, we are always in transition. So I'm not saying you need to jump into this space to be holy, because none of us going to be holy. None of us are going to be doing this thing perfectly until we get to heaven. But there are things that are in your control that you can do, where even if that is to stop compromising, to stop making excuses, to stop being disobedient, or to stop choosing to only be integral when you have an audience and doing whatever when ain't nobody watching. Like God pays attention to all of that. And the last point that I want to make is God not worth the risk? Somebody that knows tomorrow before you get there. Somebody that considered everything that you've been through and still says, yeah, I still have this thing for you. I still want you to do this. Is he not worth the risk of you maybe losing popularity, maybe losing friends, maybe losing a relationship, getting a new job, moving to a new space, trying again? Like, is he not worth the risk? I don't want us to waste the opportunity that we have where we are. It's okay if maybe it was done a certain way before, but God got you there. He has you at the table. He has you in the circle. He has you in the friend group. Are you bringing the people around you closer to God or further away? Are the gifts that you have inside of you, are they benefiting? Are they a benefit to the kingdom, or are they only benefiting you? Are you is like, even when Esther is saying like, well, if I perish, I perish. She's like, listen, all right, fine, you're right. God's purpose is going to prevail, and I don't want harm to come onto my people. So let me just go and see what'll happen. And you keep reading to see what it said. Like, it worked. So you got to have that confidence in God to know that even if he is calling you to do something that you might think is unbearable, that's scary, that is uncertain, that he has a plan on the other side of your obedience. And he is 100% worth the risk. Was it worth the risk last year for me to say, when I know that I couldn't even afford to live where I was living anymore, and God said, don't sign this lease over? For me, and I was like, okay, fine. Now in my what do you call it? Like my little temper tantrum. I'm like, I'm about to move, and I'm done with this and all those things. Yeah, I feel like God allowed me to have that space, but he still provided for me. But it was a risk to not sign my lease over and not have a job and know where I was going to live yet. It was a risk, but God showed me time and time again that he'll never leave you. He will never forsake you. And so if you have to risk losing friends or looking foolish or even being rejected, I'm telling you that rejection, that does a lot to all of us. We're afraid to speak up or say no. We're afraid to or do the thing that God is saying because we don't want to look crazy. We don't want to be rejected, or we don't want to be uncomfortable. But I'm telling you, the growth happens when you're the most uncomfortable. And faith grows when you're dependent upon something that you really cannot see. You can't read it and say, oh, I got faith now. Faith is a muscle. It got to be worked. And so if whatever it is that God has like been working inside of you to say, hey, I need you to do this, but you too scared. I'm telling you, my life sometimes feels crazy. It feels, when I told my parents that I was moving to Dallas and I didn't have no job, I had about $700. I had a brand new car that I didn't know how I was going to pay for, and no plan, nowhere to live. That sounds crazy. And somehow this is my 10-year. Oh my God, I'm thinking about it now. My 10-year anniversary is coming up. First of all, where did the time go? It's crazy. But when I think about that young, hungry, hurting Bree back in 2016, oh my God, to now, it's like only God could have done this. Only God could have allowed those hard moments where I was hungry, when my airbed would, oh my God, it's about to make me cry. When my airbed would deflate in the middle of the night, or when I would have to split Chipotle bowls in half because I only had $7 to spend every few days, and I didn't know how things were going to work out, but I took a risk. I took a leap of faith because I trusted the word that was in me bigger than anything that I could do on my own. I was scared. I was scared to say yes to God when I had an opportunity to work for CBS Radio, and I never said that name publicly. I had an opportunity to work for CBS Radio, and God, it was when I was first building a relationship with God. And I said, I can't, it didn't settle in my spirit well. I couldn't do it. When I had that opportunity and God said no, and I turned it down, I thought that my world was over. I didn't know how I was going to get through this. I didn't know that God was going to use that no and all those rejections from those other job opportunities. I didn't know that would lead me here. And I'm so thankful. And all these years of feeling lonely, of feeling misunderstood, of being frustrated, of being of regretting my decision. Like when I took a leap of faith and I moved here, by day 3, I said, oh, I made a mistake. I said, I made a mistake, but I had invested too much to go back. And so it was like, what are you going to do? You're going to see it through. And God has used these years to mold me, to shape me, to be this version. So sometimes people can look at you and say, wow, you doing it. You got it all together. No, this costs years of discomfort. This costs times of being broke, of being lonely, of being left out, of being forgotten, of being used. It cost me something, but I didn't quit, and I'm not going to quit. And there's times where I have to fight my way through the next season. And it might look like that, but is God not worth the risk? And now I'm so grateful for all of those no's. And when I felt, man, when I tell you the devastation that I had in my heart when this CBS, like this could turn into who knows what. And it was in Houston. That's all I wanted. And God said, my hand ain't on that. And I said, okay. Well, wherever it is that you'll lead me is where I'll go. And it led me to Dallas, Texas doing ministry. I don't even know what else I could be doing right now. And it's like I get to participate in God's purpose for the world. And it's not just about me. It's not about how cool I look. It's not about how many followers I got. It's not about how many people connect with me or how many blue checks that I know or who is affirming me. It's not about that. It's really about the kingdom. And I'm grateful for this journey. And so I'm sharing my testimony because I really, really want, wherever you are, maybe you feel like I've given everything that I got and I feel like it's still not working. Try it with God. Try it with God this time. Invite him into that space. Because if I knew then what I know now, maybe I could have got here. And I'm not going to say I could have got here sooner, but maybe it wouldn't have been as painful because I couldn't let go of my own way, of my own desires. And I was mad at God. And God can handle that too, But I was mad at him for not giving me the things that I wanted when I wanted them. But I wasn't even ready for them. I didn't know what to do with influence at that time. Heck, I don't know if I know what to do with it now, But I'm still dependent on him for everything. And I know that I'm not leaning on my own strength. I'm not leaning on my own wisdom. I'm not leaning on who is going to go with me. I'll go by myself. That's where I got to the point. If I perish, I perish. If I got to do this by myself and have no friends, so be it. If I have to do this and be single, so be it. Like, if I perish, I perish. Like when you read that, it's like whatever I have to give up to be in the will of God, I'm willing to do it. Wherever I have to go, if God is asking me to go and I'm uncomfortable, but God, I know you're with me, I'm willing to do it. Maybe I might look crazy setting up this podcast and talking to myself and talking about vulnerable things that most people don't talk about. I'm willing to do it because there's somebody on the other side of what God has placed inside of me who needs it. There's somebody on the other side of what God has placed inside of you. They need you to show up full. They need you, not halfway. And maybe, you might not feel as confident or ready, but you're there. So don't discredit that. Don't discount what you have to offer because it is enough. You are enough, and allow God to perfect you and prepare you along the way because he has called you for a time such as this. Now is the time. If you look at the world, the news, it is scary and it's disappointing and it is discouraging. But that's why he's called believers to be mouthpieces wherever you are, in the boardroom, in the White House, in the courtroom, wherever. He's asking you, he needs you to use your gifts. Even if it's serving somebody else who they have something that's bigger. You feel like, well, I'm not doing what you do. I don't have that much to offer. You have something. He's given us all something. You might not be in front of the camera. You might be behind it. And that's the person in front of the camera can't work without the person behind the camera. We all have a role to play in it. So it was just on my heart. Like, as I was even thinking about the resistance that I've had all of this time to finally say yes to God. And it's like, it was never about me. None of this. It was never about me. So I want you to ask yourself, where has God positioned you? Why are you in the position that you're in? Why do you have the job that you have? Why are you in the city that you're in? Even if you don't want to be there, ask yourself why. That's one of my favorite questions is why. What conversation have you been avoiding? Maybe God wants to use you to be a mouthpiece for somebody else. Maybe it's time to have a hard conversation. Maybe it's time to break the ice. Maybe it's time to forgive. Maybe it's time to apologize, to take accountability. What are you avoiding? What are you delaying? What is something that God is like, maybe he's been putting this idea in your heart, but you're delaying it for whatever reason. Ask yourself, really do some assessment. And another thing, and I'm not going to act like it's not scary. Sometimes it is. And the enemy also knows. He pay attention to your pattern, so he know. But what's loud, the fear that keeps coming up in your mind that's getting louder than God's voice? Maybe you need to share that with a community, because we can't do this by ourselves. And you have to ask yourself, like, am I living for the approval of man? Or am I living to please God? If I perish, I perish. If I look foolish, I look foolish. If nobody agrees with me, none of my circle, no, somebody need to hear it. Somebody needed me to be in this position now. Somebody needed me to share the most vulnerable parts of my story, even though I was afraid to share because I didn't want nobody to judge me. Somebody needed it. Somebody needs what you're carrying. So don't discount it. Don't discredit it. Just do what God has called you to do. And if you need help, literally just ask. Lord, help me. When I think about this podcast and I was like tired, I was at the end of my rope. I'm like, God, I can't do this by myself. I'm done. I remember that the space that I was in when I was like, I'm done. I'm giving everything. And God, He uses us through people, man. You just never know whose life is going to be changed by you saying yes. And I just also want to encourage you too, like, don't compare yourself to this version of myself, of me, or somebody else that you might see that you admire. Don't compare yourself, because it took time to get here. It took some shaking, some beating, some pressing, some uncertainty, frustration, depression, overcoming depression. It's taken a lot to get to this point. And I know, like, we're not going to be done being processed because we're still living. So don't discredit that. And know, like, you're not an accident. You weren't born in the wrong generation. You weren't born to the wrong family. You're not overlooked. You're not forgotten. He's placed you exactly where He wants you to be. So instead of loathing that position, instead of loathing where you are, why don't you try to embrace it and ask God to give you a fresh perspective to help you? So that way you can see whatever it is that He's been showing you this whole time. The thing that maybe you can start right where you are now. And as you walk, then He'll add on. We really just don't have the time that we think that we have. And He really just does. He doesn't need you to be perfect. He just needs you to be obedient. He just needs your yes. All I had to give God was a yes. Oh my God, I'll never forget them hunger pains. Like, this is before I started fasting too. And I was like legit hungry when I didn't understand the spiritual benefit of fasting. That technically what that was like, fasting, but I was hungry. I couldn't eat. But I also was dealing with pride. I was dealing with unforgiveness, self-sufficiency, making myself an idol. And God, like, even in those moments way back then, He worked it all for the good. And He was going to do the same thing for you. And if you don't know God, man, I'm telling you, it is the best relationship you can ever enter into. It is the best decision that you can ever make for your life. Literally, the way that I met God, I mean, I've always had a knowing of Him, but I didn't know Him. And I remember saying, Lord, if you are real, show me. If you have a purpose for my life, please show me. I asked Him and He revealed Himself to me through people, through circumstances, through rejection, that He revealed Himself to me. And so when I talk about, like, my passion, the things that I get to share, it's not because I think I bought into the system. And I know what a lot of people talk about, like, oh, you following this religion, it's man-made and all these things. Like, can't nobody make up the things that I've experienced in my life. Like, I don't believe God because I believe about Jesus because somebody told me. I've experienced it in real life. And I'm telling you, it is the best decision you can ever make for your life. So if you don't know God, I invite you to ask Him, if you are real, show me. Surround me with the right people. Put me in the right place. So that way He can use you. And if you have a gift, if you have a nudge that God is saying, hey, speak up. Hey, go do this. I know this sounds crazy, but I need you to move. I need you to walk away from that job. I need you to walk away from that friendship, that relationship. Do it. It is worth it. God is worth the risk. He is worth it. He is worth my plans. The plans that I have for my life would have stopped so long ago. I didn't even know what I know now. Only God can do that. That's it. That's really all that I had. And I hope that you go back and read the story of Esther, about God, how God prepared somebody. And there's so many stories like that, all of us just in our lives. But the book of Esther is what I was talking about specifically today. But I hope that this episode encouraged you. I hope that you have a different perspective about where you are, why you're there, what you're doing, and know that God has a purpose for you. He loves you. He chooses you. You are not a mistake. He knew way back then that you would be in this position now, and he has something greater for you in the future. But you just got to say yes to him. Hope that my testimony and my story encourages you to do so. If you want to follow more of the Let It Be podcast, you can find us on all streaming platforms, even YouTube at Let It Be Podcast, or you can follow our social media, Let It Be the Podcast. You can also follow me on all social media platforms at Fergie, or you can visit my website, fergie.com. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I really, really hope that it was an encouragement to you and a blessing. And if you liked it and it blessed you, go and share it with somebody else, because they might need the encouragement as well. But until next time, see you later.